In this video, I'm going to show you how to work the Garter Lace Ladder Stitch pattern. This is the stitch pattern that I used in my coming home scarf. This is a really pretty stitch and it's relatively easy to create as well. So let me show you how to do it. I've created a little demo swatch here and it's based on the stitch pattern from my coming home scarf. But even if you're using this technique for a different pattern, the steps I'm going to show you are going to be the same regardless. So row 1 starts with a knit 5. Then the stitch pattern sequence starts as follows. We're going to first do a knit 2 together. So take your right needle and insert it into the next 2 stitches on the left needle, into both of those stitches, just like that. And then knit them together. Then it says to yarn over, yarn over. So that's a double yarn over. So to do that, you're going to do it just like you would a regular yarn over. So take the yarn from the back of the work and bring it to the front in between the 2 needle tips and then over the top of the right needle. So that's 1 yarn over. So then to do a double yarn over, you just do that twice. So we're going to bring it to the front of the work, again, in between the 2 needle tips and over the top of the right needle, just like that. Then it says to SSK. So that stands for slip, slip, knit. Let me show you the way that I do my SSKs. So I'm going to slip the next 2 stitches knitwise, one at a time, from the left needle to the right needle, just like that. And then I'm going to insert my left needle into the front of these 2 stitches that I just slipped, like that. And then I knit them together. Okay. Then the sequence ends with a knit 3. Okay, then it says to repeat from star to the last 2 stitches. So the star had started at the knit 2 together. So we're going to do another knit 2 together. So just insert the right needle into the next 2 stitches on the left needle. And if you have trouble getting in, like I just did right there, just sort of torque the stitches a little bit with your left hand. That can sometimes help. Or go into one like this and then go into the second. So we'll knit those 2 together. Then we're going to work our double yarn over. So bring the yarn to the front of the work in between the needle tips and over the top of the right needle. And then do that one more time. So in between the needles, and see, even as I'm doing it, sometimes it kind of wants to get off of the needle. If it's helpful, use your left hand, your left thumb like that to hold it as you go around one more time. Okay. Then we do another SSK. So slip, slip, and then knit. And then we end with a knit 3. So before I do the last repeat, one thing I wanted to show you was how to read your knitting with the stitch pattern to make sure that you stay on track. So one thing to keep an eye on is where those double yarn overs are placed. They always should be right above where you see the eyelet hole here. And the way that you could tell is use your left hand or your right hand to just stretch the stitches out a little bit in that area. So see when I sort of pull this down a little bit, then I can really see the yarn over stitches. And you can see that they're yarn overs because there's no base under this stitch. They just look like those loops that just kind of go over the right needle. So I know these are in the right place because both of these stitches are right above the previous hole right over here. When I look at the first one we did, it's the same thing. I'm just going to take my left hand to just sort of pull down. Yep, those are the 2 yarn overs and they are placed right above the previous eyelet. So that's just a helpful way to keep track of your sequences and to make sure that everything is lined up correctly. So we just have one more sequence to do. So I'm going to knit 2 together and then work my double yarn over. So there's the first one, and then I'm going to actually use my left thumb just to hold it in place for a second as I wrap it one more time for the second yarn over. and then my slip, slip, knit. And then I end with a knit 3, and then it had said to repeat from star to the last 2 stitches and then just knit 2. So I will go ahead and just knit those last 2 stitches. Okay, so row 1 is complete. I'm going to turn the work and we're going to work our row 2, our wrong side row. Row 2 starts with a knit 7. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And now here I wanted to point something out. So I knit 6, I have 1 more to knit. Now we've encountered where our double yarn over had been on the previous row. So the last stitch that you always knit in that sequence is going to be that first yarn over. And it always seems a little weird because it's not a regular stitch, it's just this yarn over, this strand over the left needle. But you're still going to go into it just like you typically would when you knit a stitch. Wrap the yarn, push it off the left needle like that. But then you encounter the first yarn over. Again, it looks kind of weird because you just have this strand. The next, in the pattern, it says we're supposed to purl 1. So we need to purl this stitch. So I'm going to bring the yarn to the front. Again, even though it doesn't look like a regular stitch, I'm still going to go into the front of it just like that. I like to hold this strand with my left hand as I then take my working yarn to purl the stitch, just to hold it in place a bit. Okay, and then I'll purl it. Okay, then it says the sequence is to knit 6, and then we'll do another purl 1. So let me bring the yarn to the back of the work. Let's knit 6. Again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so now we are at our 6th stitch, which is the first yarn over. So just like we did the first time, I'm going to go into that first yarn over and knit it. Then I have this strand here. Don't let it fall off of the needle because you want to purl that now. So we're going to bring the yarn to the front of the work and purl it. Bring the yarn to the back. Then we're going to do another knit 6. Okay, so again, that 6th one is the first yarn over. So just go into that 1 yarn over strand, knit it, then bring the yarn to the front of the work and purl the 2nd yarn over. And bring the yarn to the back, and then it ends with a knit 6. And that's it. Those are the 2 rows in the pattern. One helpful tip is you could place a removable marker on the front of the right side row. So when you're about to start a row 1, you can put a removable marker on this side, and that just helps you identify which side is the right side and the wrong side. So when you see the marker, you know it's a right side. The other thing I wanted to point out is that some patterns may have less stitches in between each of these ladders. But the techniques I showed you on how to create these eyelet ladders are going to be the same regardless of the amount of stitches that are in between them. So that is how you work the Garter Lace Ladder Stitch.